Amber, a young woman seeking a better life, arrives in America with nothing but hope and determination. However, her dreams are crushed when she finds herself without proper identification and unable to find a decent job. Desperate, she takes a low-paying job in a shabby factory where the conditions are awful, and the boss treats the workers terribly. One day, while walking home from the factory, Amber notices an ad for a cheap girls-only hostel. The price is affordable, and Amber thinks it might offer her a place of peace and privacy. She packs her belongings, excited to start fresh in this new place, and moves into the hostel. The landlord, Red, greets her with a warm smile and mentions that he plans to renovate the old building soon. For now, only 2 girls live there, Amber and Freya. Amber is relieved, finally feeling like she has found a small space she can call her own. But as night falls, things begin to take a strange turn. Amber hears footsteps in her room, and when she looks, she sees a woman sitting there, looking scared and shaken, as if she's been through something traumatic. Amber assumes the woman might be going through a breakup or some emotional distress, so she doesn't pay much attention. She sits on the bed, looking at old photos of her mother, reminiscing about her past life. Just then, Amber feels a hand touch her shoulder, but when she turns around, there's no one there. Shocked and confused, she tries to push the feeling aside. The next day, as she leaves the factory, she notices some strange shadows moving on the upper floor of the hostel. Something doesn't feel right, and she grows more uneasy with every passing day. Amber is still struggling financially, and the situation at work is getting worse. She considers getting fake documents to leave the factory and find a better life, but when she goes to see an agent, the price is too high. That night, Amber visits a relative's house, where they offer her a job. But there's one catch. She needs an ID card to work. Amber, realizing the trouble she's in, decides to ask Red for a refund on her rent to pay for the fake ID, but Red tells her the money has already been spent on room repairs. Desperate, Amber turns to her roommate for help. When she enters Freya's room to ask for a loan, she's surprised to find that the door is open, but no one is there. Feeling a sense of unease, Amber brushes it off. However, soon after, she hears a strange movement coming from an old wooden box in the room. Terrified, she opens the box, but then suddenly, she wakes up. It was just a nightmare. Still struggling to make ends meet, Amber asks her boss for an advance, but he refuses, smirking as he says, "If you want, I can help you another way. But don't forget about me when you make it big." Amber, confused but desperate, takes the money, thinking at least someone is offering her support. That night, as she walks down the street, she feels like someone is following her. She turns around, but no one is there. Suddenly, the streetlight flickers, and the atmosphere turns eerie. Amber quickens her pace, feeling a growing sense of dread. When Amber returns to the hostel, she notices a man checking the strength of a door. She's puzzled because she thought the place was supposed to be women only. Red explains that the man is his older brother, and together they manage the building. Amber brushes it off and heads to her room. But something doesn't feel right. As she walks through the hallways, she hears footsteps running outside her door, followed by a loud knock. Then, silence. Amber is shaken, but she tries to ignore it. The next day, 2 new girls move into the hostel. Amber is surprised. She thought it was supposed to be a women-only place. Red again brushes it off, saying his brother was helping manage the place. Amber, feeling more and more uneasy, heads to her room. But when she passes Red's room, she notices the door is open. Curiosity gets the better of her, and she steps inside. The room is filled with strange insect specimens and old photographs, all showing disturbing images. Amber's eyes fall on a childhood photo of Red and his brother. Just as she's about to leave, the record player in the corner begins to play, emitting eerie chanting sounds. It sounds like a ritual, a sacrificial prayer. Amber listens carefully and realizes the recording is talking about some kind of dark ritual. Her gaze lands on a photo of a wooden box, the same box she saw in her nightmare. Suddenly, Amber hears a noise behind her. She turns around, startled, and drops the photo frame. In a panic, she picks it up and rushes out of the room. Her heart is pounding, and she can't shake the feeling that something is terribly wrong. The next day at the factory, Amber notices that her friend Simona is missing. Her phone keeps ringing, but there's no answer. Amber, worried, asks the boss for Simona's address, but he dodges her questions and eventually fires her. Now, Amber has neither a job nor money. Desperate and heartbroken, she returns to the hostel, unsure of what to do next. That night, while taking a shower, Amber hears a strange groaning sound coming from the drain. She turns off the water and listens carefully. There's a faint sound, almost like a woman crying for help. Panicked, Amber pulls the shower curtain aside, but no one is there. The bathroom suddenly feels eerily silent. Amber, terrified, runs out of the bathroom and bumps into Red. They have a brief conversation where Amber asks if Freya has moved out. Red says she left days ago. Then he smiles and tells Amber that he'll return Freya's rent money the next day, as he doesn't have any cash at the moment. Amber feels a slight sense of relief and goes back to her room. Later that night, Amber notices a moth fluttering around her room, its presence adding to the strange atmosphere. The door creaks open by itself, and the hallway light flickers. The entire place seems like it's turning into a nightmare. Amber feels trapped, as though something invisible is watching her. She nervously glances toward the opposite room, where she sees the shadowy figure of a woman standing there. As she stares, footprints begin to appear on the floor, seemingly on their own. Before Amber can make sense of it, two terrifying spirits emerge, arguing loudly. Then, as suddenly as it started, everything goes silent again. Shaken, Amber heads downstairs, where she sees one of the spirits kneeling on the floor, pleading for mercy. The sight horrifies Amber, and she quickly packs her belongings, deciding that she can't stay in the hostel any longer. She calls her uncle, asking him to come and get her, but fate turns against her once more. Her uncle is out of town. He tells her that if things get too bad, she should contact his friend. However, as an undocumented immigrant, Amber can't go to the police for help. With no other choice, she leaves the hostel and begins wandering the cold streets, with nothing but the bitter chill and empty pockets to keep her company. Desperate for shelter, Amber calls Red, but he doesn't answer. She ends up at the metro station, hoping to find some refuge. The usually crowded station is eerily silent tonight. The lights flicker, and Amber senses that she is not alone. As she walks further into the station, everything around her seems to vanish. The passengers, the noise, the movement, all gone. She turns around and finds herself face to face with her mother, sitting on one of the seats. That's when it hits her. This is the same nightmare that has been haunting her for so long. Suddenly, Amber's thoughts are interrupted by Red, who shows up at the station, claiming he brought her the rent money. He says he forgot it in his hurry, but Amber doesn't believe him. Still, she reluctantly follows him back to the hostel. When they get there, Red tells her the money is in his room, but when he looks for it, nothing is there. Red, now visibly drunk, finishes one bottle of alcohol after another. Amber starts to feel something is off. This whole situation doesn't feel right. As Red drinks, Amber begins to realize she's been tricked. Before she can make a move, a mysterious man named Kinsey suddenly appears. Amber tries to run, but Kinsey and Red catch her and lock her in a room. Now Amber is certain that this house is not only haunted, But there's also something dark and sinister going on with these two men. She's trapped, and the realization sinks in. After a while, there's a knock on the door. Two new girls, the ones who moved in a few days ago, have come to see Amber. They, too, are terrified because they've been hearing cries for help every night. The three of them, terrified and confused, come to a horrifying realization. Red and Kinsey are involved in some kind of dark ritual. They plan to escape at sunrise, but as they huddle together, the fear becomes overwhelming. Amber looks around and sees dozens of shadowy figures staring at her, their eyes cold and malevolent. But just as suddenly as they appear, they vanish. In a panic, Amber sees her mother again, arms wide open, calling her closer, but then she's shaken awake by her roommate. It was another nightmare. Amber's world is spiraling, and the line between her nightmares and reality is blurring. The two girls, Amber and her new roommates, decide they must escape the clutches of Red and his brother, Kinsey. But what can three frightened women do against two dangerous men? Just as they're about to make a break for it, the doorbell rings. This unexpected sound offers them a brief moment of relief. When the door opens, Amber sees her uncle, Bato, standing there. Without wasting a second, Amber runs to the window, but Red tries to distract Bato with lies. However, Bato's eyes fall on Amber's jacket, the one Red himself had given her. Realizing something is wrong, Amber makes a desperate move. She breaks the window, causing the glass to shatter loudly, drawing Bato's attention. Bato rushes inside, but just as he reaches Amber, there's a loud explosion, and everything descends into chaos. Red and Kinsey grab Amber and drag her to a hidden, stone-walled chamber. There, they tie her down to a set of wooden planks. The room is filled with horrifying marks on the walls, and as an ancient door slowly creaks open, Amber knows that the nightmare has only just begun. Behind the door, a massive, ghostly figure steps out, its icy hands reaching for Amber's face. In that moment, Amber is pulled into a final, horrifying nightmare. Her mother, with blood-soaked eyes, stares at her, her cold hands choking the life out of Amber. Just as Amber begins to suffocate, she wakes up with a gasp, drenched in sweat. Everything has vanished, leaving only silence in its wake. Amber realizes that this is it, the final battle between her nightmares and reality. As she regains her senses, the dark spirits and the terrifying monster vanish like smoke. But where did the mysterious stone box come from? And why were Red and Kinsey repeatedly sacrificing women?